Hey, welcome back to another Montreal Canadiens weekly report with the hockey coach, Coach Ray. She's directly for the beautiful country of Thailand on an amazing, great Monday night, February 3rd, 2025. Thanks to join us tonight. We'll talk about the Montreal Canadiens, what happened last week, and what happened last game again on them Ducks. Of course, we'll talk about fun news like the prospect of the Montreal Canadiens. We'll talk about the preview of the week, the clash. At the end of the show. I'm going to answer to your question about the Montreal Canadiens. What anything was going on around the NHL with a couple of news on NHL, a couple of injuries, and impact on the standing of the Eastern Conference playoff World Cup spot. So a lot of the things on the program tonight. And of course, the big subject of the night is the shutdown between the McLean, Celebrini, and the matchup in Lane Hutson for the Calder Trophy. So we're going to talk about the Calder Trophy at some point tonight and see what happening between the Montreal and the San Jose Sharks. And Montreal going to return on the ice tomorrow. Again, the Sharks at 10:30 p.m. The next two game, guys, you're going to go on the bed late like I do every night. Or maybe not, but I think it's your turn to take a little bit late night watching your Montreal Canadiens. Maybe not what you're looking for when they last 5 games straight right now for the Montreal Canadiens with a record at 0-1. Thanks to join us tonight. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. We appreciate all your comments and, of course, your likes you put on this channel. And a weekly report cannot happen with the two co-hosts we have every week. And I'm talking about, of course, Mr. Enartap directly from Toronto and Mr. Devin from Nova Scotia are back in the house talking about the Montreal Canadiens.
Good evening, Coach. Good evening, Devin, and all of Hockey Nation. Great to join you guys again for another conversation on the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. Devin, you mute. That's okay.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm looking forward to another recap of the Montreal Canadiens week.
Awesome. That's what we're looking for. Thanks to both of you to be with us tonight on the special night of the weekly report. We have a couple of people knock the door. As you can already in talking about the news update. Only one game, RJ. So, he's going to take it
Stay
easy
on top
tonight.
of it.
But you can, RJ, follow the American Hockey League All-Star game tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. You can follow the Boston College right now, all in action. Again, the Northeastern take the lead 1-0. Of course, Steady Stiga score a goal for them. It looked like Fowler is between the pipe, always stop 5 shot he faced so far. So a couple of things going on around in our Cape. But it's very quiet Monday night. We have only one game in NHL. The Nashville hosts the Ottawa Senator. Where the Senators, they're looking good the last couple of games. We're going to talk about everything in the NHL, of course. But also, thanks to be with us. We have Habs Nation is in the house tonight. Welcome back. We have Gary Conoyer, the best driver UPS in the world, is with us. Luc Lafortin, knock, knock, knock. Who is there? It's in our tap. Claude Richard is in the house tonight. Welcome back from the capital, Ottawa, the Canada. Welcome back. And Rabinov, what's up, mother? I have a feeling about tomorrow game, a bad feeling about but and Rabinov, if you look about the history, Montreal always been struggling at the San Jose Sharks. So we'll see what they can do tomorrow. But you have an opportunity to do it. It's time to beat the San Jose Sharks. Honestly, they're missing a couple of pieces of the puzzle with that trait, Michael Gretland and Cody Ceci out of the team. We have PLW back in the house tonight, and we go with Patterson to score for X for that game. Again, the Nashville, he said the Zebra just stole a goal to Patterson. Yes, you're right about that. Now, I try to recall a game that's happening this weekend. Seattle Kraken versus who? Oh, Calgary Flames. Did you watch this game?
Yeah. I
So,
saw part of the third period.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that game, guys, you have two review calls during the game. The game is at Seattle. The first The first one is the Kraken score a goal and they disallowed the goal. The second one, they have a goal for the Flame, and they keep the goal in the net. So I'm telling you right now, everything they can throw on the ice, they did it at the Kraken. Yeah, the game like it's only weekend. Really okay, the Flame win as a Montreal Canadiens fans. It was really happy about that. The referee was great. No, just kidding, but it was honestly, if you watch those two replay review, you shake your head. How the how this could happen about that? If I have to be the guys in charge from Toronto, I give the goal to Kraken and I do the goal for Calgary Flame, but I'm lucky I'm not there. But I think I should work from tail end to do a review call in our top. I have the time to do it
Sounds
anyway.
good.
I think I could go that, but we'll see. Slenderman is in the house. Welcome back. Pizza is also with us. Thanks for being with part. And what about our friend Randy Walkman? Vladar stole that game. And also, you can talk about the people from Toronto. I think you can help him about that. So thanks for being with us again. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. We'll talk about everything's going on. The first we're going to talk about, guys, the both of you, is about the NHL. And I'm going to ask you some question after that. So first of all, guys, the NHL announced that Columbus Blue Jacket, Marchenko is going to be out indefinitely with a jaw surgery happening on the weekend. The Islanders announced Matthew Barzell is going to be out also with a lower body injury. And the Ottawa Senator announced Josh Norris is going to be out for a couple of weeks. So that's happening for three players. But the most of the thing, guys, is three teams are in the race for the playoff, or they're already in the playoff, three teams in the Eastern Conference. So one of you said to me, and what would be the biggest impact or problem, or maybe no problem for the team if you look about those three teams in our top? What you feel about those three injury?
Well, when you look at Marchenko, who just got there to Columbus, I mean, it's such an unfortunate injury and set of circumstances now for Columbus. Uh, I believe it's a broken jaw that he has, so he's going to be out indefinitely. Um, it's tough. Like you make a trade to try to make a push for a playoff spot, and then this happens to a key player that you picked up in the trade. It's got to hurt for the Islanders. That's probably the biggest impact, I would say, with Barzal of the three. Barzal just does it all for the Islanders. This guy, drives to the net. He scores. He sets up people. He's a real digger. He's just an amazing hockey player, and they're gonna, really miss him. I don't know how long he's out for, but it's going to have an impact on the Islanders, who incidentally have gone, I believe, before last night's loss, they had gone, I think, 8 games that they had won in a row. So guess what? They're back in the race.
Yeah, Vivian.
Yeah, I mean that Marchenko injury is huge for them. I mean, I think Sean Monahan is also out, if I'm not mistaken. So you've just lost two of your three best scorers. That team has looked spectacular this year. They're probably the biggest story for me in the Eastern Conference right now. Combined with the Johnny Gaudreau situation and how well they've played, and just playing above what anybody would have expected from them. They're almost a team of destiny, and for them to lose Marchenko now after losing Monahan, it's too bad. Despite the fact that they are in direct competition with the Canadiens, it is a great story, and you do like to see teams like that do well. And Marchenko is a breakout player this year, on pace for really, really good numbers. And it's too bad to see him get injured. So I think he's the biggest impact of those three on the screen for me. And it's too bad. It's too bad for Columbus.
Yeah, every year they have a team you don't expect to be in the playoff. They make it, and I feel like the Columbus could be that team this year. We'll see what happens, but every year they have a team like you said. What the heck? Why they are in the playoff? How they make it? And I think Columbus could be that team. Honestly, um, could happen on the playoff. We'll see what happens. We'll definitely talk about them a bit later. And the clash. Can you tell you how I can do that? Anyhow, the Montreal NHL announced Sorokin, Thompson, and Sanderson are the player of the week in NHL. But I want to talk about you guys. You keep one team, 11, the New York Calendars in Ottawa. How impressive are you? How do you feel about them, and what it would be for the rest of the season? They're going to what happening to them. So are you going to see them at the end of the season all the way, or not? Ottawa or the New York Calendars in the playoffs? So, David, you're the first one talking about them.
I would tend to lean, if I had to pick between one of those two teams, I think I would tend to lean towards Ottawa. The Rangers, the Islanders have had a good last week or so, week and a half. But I think that overall, when I look at Ottawa's roster, I think that's a team that is more likely to carry it over a longer period of time for me than the Islanders. I've always thought that Ottawa had a good roster, and it was just a matter of them putting things together. I think they've got some issues with respect to chemistry and leadership and things like that, but it appears that they're bringing some of that together, and they're playing good hockey. So if I had to pick between the Islanders and the Senators as far as a team that would be in the playoffs at the end of the season, I think I would tend to lean towards Ottawa, and I would tend to believe that what we've seen from the Islanders over the last 7 or 8 games would be more of a streak as opposed to what they're really all about. I hope that doesn't offend too many of the. Yeah, an aberration. I think that's probably a good word. I mean, that's not to say that they're not a good team. It's just that I don't see them carrying that pace on for that period of time. Whereas Ottawa, I think Ottawa's a real team, and they've got a good team. And for me, the question hasn't been about the players for the last couple of years. It's been more about whether they could get some good coaching, whether they could get some good leadership, and whether or not they could sort of get some chemistry and put it all together and use their talent to take the next step. And it looks like they're doing that right now. So if I had to pick one of those two, I would go with Ottawa.
And on top.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Devin. I think when you look at Ottawa, it's been quite the story so far. As a matter of fact, they find themselves in third place now in the division, so they're in a very good spot. Although what separates the second wild card from third there is 1 point, so it's not a huge thing. They're going to have to stay on top of things. They're going to have to avoid injuries. I think with regards to the Islanders, I think the biggest story has been Sorokin. He's kind of turned it around after a slow start this year, and he's really, kept the Islanders in games. And it'll be interesting to see what they do, right? This is one of those teams that's on that line of whether they're going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline time. There's a lot of talk about Brock Nelson perhaps leaving, and now we know that Barzal is out for several weeks. It might put him in a different mindset, but as long as you're close, you can't abandon aspirations of getting that wild card position. And as it stands right now, I think they're what is it about? They have, I think, 55, and the wild card is 58 or 59,
59,
something like that. 59, and they're right there. And I think they have a game in hand on the Columbus Blue Jackets. So it's a good position for them to be in, but it's to sustain it is a totally different story. So I guess it depends on, in terms of these two teams, what do they do at the trade deadline time, right? What assets do they bring in, if any, and can they maintain their current streak?
We'll see what happening for both teams. And the next thing I want to talk about, Chicago announced they called up Lechinov of the Team American Hockey League. And then also the New Jersey announced Eric Ola should return on the ice. So the New Jersey Devils, they're missing Eric Ola. Said that, but that's the reality. They're struggling the last 15 games. New Jersey does not play like the level they was supposed to. They played at the beginning of the season. Also, Max Strom not there. That's not good news for them, but they will come back. Good to see Lechinov. But can you imagine this 2 seconds? Montreal select second overall pick in 2024. Lechinov over Demidov. what it will
Mm-hmm.
be today, the people in the chat, we already have some kind of hammer with Rainbacker versus Michkov, but there's going to be stuck with the Chicago Blackhawks for a couple of years in our top. That pick
Absolutely.
over Demidov. Not only only Chicago, but the team did not pick Demidov. So we'll be interested what happening about this. Just open up a little bit more what's going on around the NHL. Of course, you have only one game tonight, 0-0 between Ottawa and Nashville Predator. And we appreciate a lot of people knock the door. We have a few people come back now. We have Alan Vianco, Luciano is in the house, and many others. So thanks to be with us. Don't forget, please, to click on the likes. Use the All-Star game right now. And the American Hockey League is start in the next 10 minutes. You can watch the game on the RDS or other channel on the TV. Honestly, I think the NHL Network going to present the game, but I'm not guaranteed. But Owen Beck and Logan Mayu represent the Laval Rocket. Going to talk about Laval Rocket a bit later, so I don't want to go deep, but that's you have a chance to watch the game. You can watch this game live at 9 o'clock p.m. We're going to give you a bit more what's going on around the team. Now, the Parsons College. 2 minutes ago was 1-0. Now it's 2-1 in the Carson College again, Northeastern. So, Fowler gave one goal so far. Montreal Canadiens announced today Josh Anderson, therapy day again. Anderson struggling the last couple of games. Remember the injury he get out. It's only game, then he come back. I send that when he says struggling, he's struggling with his body. So I think for him, not only Lane Hutson would be benefit to have a 10 days 10 days off, but I think Josh Anderson, a couple of players from Montreal is really not in great shape. I think another one I would say to you, David Savard is another one. Brendan Gallagher also. So I think most of the players from Montreal again, or the effects Samuel Montembeau, Patrick Laney, Joel Armia are going to take advantage of that vacation you're going to get the next couple of days. So, but honestly, we're going to talk about the recap game between the Anaheim Ducks and the Montreal Canadiens happening yesterday. Montreal last by the score 3-2. Time for the likes. And we're going to talk a little bit more the overview of the game that you can get your comments. First of all, Montreal Canadiens have a great start to lead and dominate the first period with 10 shots, I believe, the first 12, 13 minutes, and lead 2 goals. 2 goals was honestly on the shot and did by Joel Armia, and then the power play goal for Christian de Baraka. But they fall asleep after that, and the Ducks came back, and then they get the W again in Montreal. Now the power play number one unit really struggling yesterday, but this is not the last 5 games. They are 1-9 or 1-11. I believe Montreal gave honestly scored only 8 goals on the 5 game spans, and they gave up 19 goals. Now the line honestly. The second line is struggling, but the first line, because the second line is struggling so much, guys, the first line go under everything. But if you look about their performance the last 5 games, you're going to realize that they only play one solid game for the first line. But let's move on now for what happening last night. Also, the only game, Kirby Doc and Patrick Lenny was benched during the game. Finally, they really lost the confidence, the swag they have during the month of December versus what happening at the beginning of January and now the last 2 weeks. Montreal, those games was usually winning, they losing. And that'll give you a bit what happening again on our Ducks. And that's the situation of Montreal. So they lost now the last 5 games. The record is 0-4-1. So in our time, we're going to start with that one. Maybe a little bit an overview of the game about that. Then we'll talk about, after you're done, guys, we're going to talk about the session, the bench of Kirby Dak and Patrick Lene, a little bit more deeper. So, what do you feel about that game after?
Well, in all honesty, it was disappointing in my eyes. I mean, this trip out west, it was supposed to hopefully just before the break help them out in terms of, I don't want to use the word getting back into the mix, but at least getting back on their winning ways with Anaheim, San Jose, and LA coming up, which is a little bit more of a challenge in comparison to the other two teams. But we saw a good first period. I thought they seemed to be skating very well. They were effective on their special teams. They scored on a penalty kill, and then they scored later on a power play, albeit it was the second unit. It doesn't matter. You get the goal. That's what counts. So things looked promising in that period. But after that, I don't know how they came out in the second and third period, because I didn't see much intensity until maybe the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, when they were trying to get the tying goal. There were missed coverages. There were errors made by not just one, two, or three players, but I would say at least 7 or 8 players at different points in the game. And you can't play with that lack of intensity. This is a game where I get it. They have injuries, and that's not an excuse. I think every NHL team goes through injuries, and we just overviewed a handful of teams that have some major injuries, and of course, not having Gooley and Heineman there affects them, especially when you don't have the depth that you need to replace those players. That's, I think, what the key has been, right? Especially with that fourth line. So I think everything was kind of capsulized at the end in that third period, when finally Marty St. Louis decided to bench both Line and Doc. And sometimes a message has to be sent. He's done it with Slafkovsky from time to time, not an entire period, but in spurts of it. And it's a team that has to find the solution within itself, because right now you cannot continue at this pace. And they're going to have to improve on this if they want to continue to just show improvement. Again, playoffs isn't the issue here for me. I think as long as they keep building on their game, like we knew, guys, that they weren't as bad as what they showed at the beginning of the year, and they weren't as good as that big winning streak that they've had the last month and a half. Was not really an indication of who they are. The answer is it's somewhere in the middle. And that's what we have to look at and see how these players are developing in order to, properly assess what is needed with the team. And there's a few holes that we can address. But more importantly, it gives you an indication of what needs to be done. That's not as much at the trade deadline time, but at the end of the year.
Even
Yeah, it was a disappointing game for me as well. It's a great analysis, by the way, Intertap. I thought that's really good.
Thank you.
They're not as bad as they were at the beginning of the year, and they're not as good as they were sort of the last part of December and the first couple of weeks of January. And I think the last sort of week leading up to last night's game kind of showed us that they were kind of playing that game, right? They were much better than they were in October and November, but they weren't quite at the same level as they were over the Christmas break. But last night was a difference. To me, last night was a step backwards. I don't think that, even though they've lost 5 in a row, I don't think the first 4 games of that losing streak were necessarily a step backwards. I think there were positives to take out of all of those games, and they were still a competitive team. They were still a team that was, showing up to play. Last night, to me, they just didn't show up at all. They showed up in the first period, and I think they kind of figured they were going to have a cakewalk. And, Anaheim isn't a very good team. They weren't playing very well. They had lost their best player, shortly before the game started. And I think they figured that they were going to have an easy time of it. And they played that way in the second and third period. And, you can single out players and you can say that Line and Doc were benched, and you can blame the first line's play on the second line's play and whatever. But at the end of the day, with the possible exception of Yoel Armia, there isn't a single player on that team yesterday who would legitimately be able to say that they played a decent hockey game. I don't think any one of them did. And so for me, there's players that may have looked worse than others, and there's players that will take the blame and whatever. But at the end of the day, that was an opportunity that the Canadiens had. One, to get out of their funk a little bit. Against a team that really wasn't going to put up much of a competition. It was an opportunity to start their Western road trip on the right foot, and they chose instead to try and take the easy way out. They chose instead to try and get a win without really putting in a ton of effort, and it kicked them in the ass. It bit them in the ass, and to me, that's what's most disappointing about it. Their skills and whatever we've talked about, but what they've been trying to learn this year are those winning habits and how to win games. And those are, we've heard Marty St. Louis going all the way back to October. We're trying to teach these guys how to win hockey games. And last night, all of those losing habits came back. They gave up the 2 goals in 30 seconds, right? That's what we used to see back in October and November. They let the foot off the pedal when they had the other team, by the throat. That's what we used to see back in October and November. So a lot of those old habits came back last night, and that's what really, really bothered me because, like you say in our tap, it's not about the playoffs. It's about whether or not at the end of this year we can say that this team has moved forward and whether they've improved. And they have. But again, if they continue to make mistakes and to, bring those losing habits back into their game the way they did last night, then that's definitely a step backwards in my opinion. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah. It's okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. Look, this is the kind of game you want to win, but didn't happen, and it hurt. More for me, the confidence of the team. In my opinion, it's not like other effect of that way, and you have a lot of passenger. It's sad because they start again a great start of the game, and it's first line, second line. They cannot put the puck in the net, and the zone coverage is really bad right now. Cannot blame too much about Montembeau, you know. But we talk
Well,
about Kubidak yesterday. Zone coverage was really bad on the goal. Patrick Lenny on the coverage right there. Jekai on the last goal. The cap control. So I can could put this together. But at the end of the day, it's Montreal Canadiens. Uh, out of the playoff, out of the mix, you can call it that way. Someone asking me, do you think, I think it was Bush emailed me, he come back? No, they're not going to come back. And I think the narrative of what happening in December, January changed everything because they win game. Sometimes they should not winning, and they did it. And if you look about that, I think they have 6 games are going. It was win an overtime or a shootout. It was not dominate, but so remove those 6 points. Montreal Canadiens are battled. They are at the bottom with the Buffalo Sabres, and they are the bottom 6, 7, 8 in NHL. So that's I see the difference between that, and that's okay. It just continues to progress. The difference I would say to you, both of you, is they are not in the race anymore, and they want to play game, a meaningful game after the trade deadline. This is what the purpose of the goal at the end. That could be changed a little bit, and that's the reason I said to you that the game yesterday was a
look,
problem for the Montreal Canadiens. Not only losing the game, but more about winning Anaheim was very important for the stay in the race. Second thing, and the losing streak was very important to get the confidence, and then getting back in the race was very important if they beat Anaheim. So put this all three together, guys. This game was really, really important, like PLW said in the chat for the Montreal Canadiens to stop the streak back in the race, right? At least to get 4 points, not 6 anymore, and for the confidence and for all the team start the trip a 3 game. I think it was very important. Put this together, the confidence and the you know the mindset would be more enthusiastic and more positivity on that. It was really cold today at the practice between the players, right? David Rebecca was the winger of the second line, and Patrick Lenny was on the four line with Amia and Evans. So this is the reason behind that. Now you get to see the bench yesterday, Patrick Lenny and Kubidak. And I want to hear from you guys what you think about that decision. Where Patrick said in the chat at PLW he disagree with the decision of Martin Saint Louis. I want to hear from both of you. Are you agree or disagree about the Martin Saint Louis decision to bench Kubidak and Patrick Lenny at the third period? for the Montreal Canadiens, and you feel okay to not bring them when they need one goal at the end of the game. So David is going to start with that question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with sitting them down in the third period like that. Do I think that, like I said earlier, I don't think that there was anybody on the team that really could point to their game and say I had a good game. So, in a sense, maybe it's a little bit unfair to single those two guys out, particularly Doc, because I don't think that Doc played a particularly bad game. Line A struggled, and you could argue that maybe he was a little more deserving of that. But again, I guess I might. Again, I don't have a problem with guys being sat down, for a period or for portions of a period like that. But again, to me, the question would be why those two guys? And there certainly were other guys who were played equally as bad. And so again, I just don't know why those two guys would be singled out, and why today at practice you're putting line. And again, we have to all understand that there's a lot of communication going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. Like we don't get the backstage access that we would need to give a real opinion about this. Patrick Laine is being, Marty St. Louis is talking to Patrick Laine. They're having conversations. It's not, Patrick Laine is not just showing up to practice and being like, oh God, I'm on the fourth line now. Like there's a conversation that goes on before that happens. And they're told that this is going to happen and this is what we expect from you, and so on and so forth. And I think that's important to understand, especially when we talk about a player like that, because of his history and because of what we know about him. And I think that they'll be very conscious of communicating with him. So again, getting back to the original question, I don't really have an issue with players being benched. Again, I just don't know how I would have, if it were up to me. I don't know how I would have decided on those two guys during that particular game, because I think there's probably a half dozen, 8 guys that you could have sat down in the third period legitimately, because I don't think anybody played that well.
And after
Yeah, I think the key thing, Devin, that you mentioned there for me is we're not really privy to what's happening behind the scenes, right? So everything we say is obviously speculation. It's based on what we're observing at that moment, on a television screen, and basing our judgment on that. But I mean, there may have been things that maybe Marty St. Louis wanted those two players in particularly to focus on in that game. Whatever that might be, I don't know. But if you look at the two players in particular, they were, I think, a cumulative -3 between the two of them. Both guys are probably two of the bigger guys on the team, and they had absolutely zero hits in that game. Now, I know that that's not Laine's game necessarily, but he's shown in the past that he could use his body and at least fight for battles. He wasn't skating, and neither was Doc. And I have no problem with a coach as long as it's not a habitual thing that sends a message and says, as he said in the post game interview, he said they weren't giving us what we needed to win at that point. So I don't really have an issue with that. I think that what Montreal really has to do is they've set their standards, as we're going to obviously talk about in a few seconds from now. And right now they're not meeting them. And so you have to break it down. You have to communicate with your players. You don't just do this out of the blue or without them knowing exactly what your expectations are. And as long as all of that is in place, I think it's a fair move to make as a coach.
well said, well done. You completely me agree with Martin St. Louis. At the beginning of the season, every year, right, you're going to make a plan of the system, maybe on that, you can go the way. We have some rules inside the team. It's called the standard, what we're looking for. You have some rules are non-negotiable, and some they are negotiable. Some of them, I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. I cannot tell you That's what the five non-negotiable. They are not honestly publicly announced by the Montreal Canadiens. But Martin Louis have those situations on the black and white paper to tell them what you will not accept at any moment. Example, if you are late at the meeting in the morning or you don't show up at one time, but you're going to pay the price and they are no negotiable. Sometimes you get benched or sometimes you get you held to scratch. So this is called a non-negotiable. And this is one of the reasons yesterday, Martin Louis applied those at Kubidak and Patrick Lenné. And I think for me, this is bigger. I only said they bench them, that's it, that's all. Martin Louis proved those non-negotiable. Whatever you're winning, whatever you're losing, whatever you're in the race, whatever you're in the playoff, whatever you need a goal, whatever you need something else, you're not going to change anything because you do something. It's non-negotiable. That's applied the standard of in Montreal Canadiens. So I applaud Martin Saint Louis to take a decision for the team versus one situation to say, oh, let's play them, then we're going to bench them next game. It's not the way you do that. If you want to keep the team together and to get, you know what? If you do that, you're going to pay the price. And that's happening yesterday. So for me, I applaud Martin Saint Louis to take that, and he will do it with any players. Any player. He sacrificed the offensive side of the game yesterday when he need a goal to prove to the rest of the team this never going to happen under me here behind the bench. So for me, this is a long term. Another way when Montreal Canadiens said, you know what, whoever you are, you're going to go on the Thunder. So for me, this is what I reason I believe Martin Louis did a great job yesterday to keep that decision to prove to the players, look, this is never going to be negotiable for the team. So I don't know if you want to add something at what I just said to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, if there was a violation of a non-negotiable, then yeah, that changes. I mean, I like you, coach. I don't know what the non-negotiables are, and if if there's if there's something that's been expressed to the players that this is a non-negotiable, and this is not acceptable if you don't do this, that, or the other thing, and that's the situation, then yeah, absolutely. If that's what happened, then I don't have any problem with them being benched. So earlier I said that for me, I think you said, Entertap, that the reason they were benched was because they weren't giving the team what they needed. I don't think anybody on the team gave the team what they needed last night. But again, like if
No,
there's a
that's what
non-negotiable
Mark
that's
St. Louis.
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, no, and it's just like I said, for me, generally speaking, I look at the game last night, and I think that it would have been hard for me to decide which of the two players that I felt like needed to be sat down. But if, as coach points out, if there's a non-negotiable that's been violated, then that makes the decision really easy. And regardless of whether it was a bad game or a good game, if players are violating those non-negotiable standards, then they get benched. That's going to happen, and that should happen. I would applaud Marty St. Louis for doing that as well, and for again, like you say, coach, sacrificing some of the offense at the end of the game in order to make sure that the players understand that he's serious about the non-negotiables, and that those are they're not, that he's actually going to follow through with the punishment for those violations.
Great point about that. Like I've been listening to yeah, but it's just Doc. Doc is not going to make a message because he was benched. It's not about who you are. It's not about because you have to bench Zuski, you're going to rest. It could be your worst player on your team. It's not matter. It's something you respect the rules. That's the message behind that.
Yeah.
It's not about the name is on the bench. It's the rules they have at the beginning of the season. And that, for me, that's the most important thing if you want to get the team together. It's all in or all out. I
Absolutely.
coach in hockey.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did the same thing me and my in the past, and I was not really care about that. I always believe the team, the we, is bigger at the me, at the players. So for me, that's the most important thing about that, and I think that's the reason I applaud Martin Saint Louis behind that. A lot of people comment about different things about why New Hook and not why Dak Elaney and not New Hook, because at least New Hook for Martin St. Louis, he was at least making an effort. He was trying. And for me, that's I believe the reason he did not bench New Hook behind everything.
He was skating at least.
I'm
He
sorry.
was skating. I think he was skating all night. He didn't get obviously the same. I think he still got a point, and that was okay. But he was skating, and he actually had 3 hits. Four. It was a four. Yeah. I mean, for
Sorry, no, I
me.
think 4-1 for BC.
Oh, sorry. For me, that's the key thing. Like if you're skating and putting in the effort, and I know effort is always very difficult to gauge, and you hate to use that as a crutch, but I mean, you can visually, the eye test is there. You see what they're doing and not doing. Like that Laney, or sorry, the Kaloran goal, the second one, when I believe, made a mistake and he tried to chip in to get the puck, and instead they passed it behind, and in comes Kaloran, streaking up the middle. If you notice that particular play, Laney was right there, and he did not move. He did not skate towards Kaloran to make any effort to pick up the puck. So if Martin St. Louis has been preaching all year long, you need to always be moving, skating, moving, and he sees something like that, then he can sit him. He's justified because he's explained this on numerous occasions. And I think if the player is anything that you aspire to have on your team in the future, will totally understand what happened and why it happened. And that's all you can ask for, is to be fair with the communication aspect. You don't just sit a guy without them knowing or making it a learning an opportunity for them.
I'm going to bench PLW in our tap right now in the chat. He disagreed with me about that one, so I put
That's
him
okay. That's okay.
about about the thing.
That's
Thanks
all.
everybody to be a part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. We have a few people knock the door. And 2682 Guy is back in the house. Guy, and Rabinov also. One knocked the door also a little bit earlier. The moderator of the Hockey Nation show. So thanks everybody to be part of the show. Like we do, Boston College lead 4-1 now, and the Nashville Predator 1-1 again. The Ottawa Senator. Forsberg and Gaudette scored the goal. Like we do at the end. We do the shootout, obscure, and at the office. And that's one that we're going to start with in our tap. At the shootout, obscure, and at the office.
Devin, did you want to go first on this one, or do you want me to go first?
Doesn't matter, whatever you want. Is this for the whole week or is it just for last night?
It was just about
think
the
it's
game.
just for last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Oh God. The
do
office
you
is
want me to
full.
go, or you want to go?
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
the
go
office
ahead.
is full. Okay. For me, for stood out, I would go with and Devin and I talked about this yesterday. Um, I would go with Christian Dvorak. I thought perhaps it was one of his better games all year. He did score that the power play goal that after a long streak of time that he hadn't done anything. Um, he he was fantastic on the face-off circle. I think he won 11 out of 13 face-offs that he took for like an 85% winning percentage. Uh, and he seemed to be moving his feet, right? Like all night long, he tried. He's limited to what his talents are, and sometimes we're frustrated by that. But at least he was in the game, and he actually participated, and the numbers kind of stand out for that. Obscure, probably Joel Armia. I thought he played well as in addition. He had a couple block shots. I thought at least he was combative in some of the puck battles. He was, you could tell he was on the ice. Like some players you did not notice. You had to really look and say, "Hey, is so and so playing tonight?" Well, not in Armia's case. Like he not only scored that shorthanded goal from the setup from Evans, but uh, like I said, he was skating as well all night and was very combative in the corner. So I would go with him as the obscure. At the office, oh my gosh, you can send so many down here. Um, I'm gonna go with one of the bench players. I'm gonna go with Patrick Laine. Um, Again, just because I think the expectations for him are much higher. I thought that he was he was uh, he was particularly silent. I mean, I know somebody earlier in the chat made a comment that this is what you get with Line. You know, he goes on hot streaks in which he's scoring, and then other games he kind of disappears. I mean, in his case, I do believe. I know probably Devin will not agree with me on this, but I do believe he needs line mates that can drive the play. Like he's a great finisher. He's a great specialist type of player, and he seems to be more involved when he has somebody that drives the play. And the example I can give is when he was back in Winnipeg, and Nikolai Ehlers was the guy that drove that line, and he kept setting him up all the time and digging out the pucks and finding the opportunities to feed him all the time. And that's sort of what is like to me. Line is going to be another player that you're going to have to evaluate, and I would say very soon as well. Like this, I know maybe a lot of people will not agree with me, but if you feel that he doesn't fit the mold in which you're moving towards for the future, then don't wait till next year. He's at a high value. If you have to, you can trade him at this point. And I know a lot of people will not agree with me, but yeah, there comes a time when you have to evaluate what your assets are, how they fit into the team that you're trying to move towards in terms of competition, and the fact that you're not going to be able to sign him for anything under 8 million. I don't think, even if he gets a hometown discount. So I don't know. That's a lot to unpack there, but he would be the one I sent to the office.
Well said, well done for all of you about that. Look, as I think Amir could be a good asset. Devorak could be a good one for the Montreal Canadiens. It stood out, honestly. But I would go with, for me, I know you announced it, but I would go also with Amir about that. The obscure, Devorak. I would go with Devorak on that one for my obscure. And then at the office, you could have a many chair on the office, honestly. But I'll go also with Patrick Laine. I think you need to set it down and sit with him and figure out what you need to do. But Patrick Laine is going to be retired of NHL before 30 years old. I would not be I would not be surprised. I would not be
So that's
surprised.
something else you have to keep in your
I think
consideration.
he will go, and that way I would say to you is the NHL team will push him out of the hockey for his behavior, everything like that. And I think I'll follow you in our term of that one is the karma, what he bring in the locker room could affect the locker room inside at some point. Look, you had no reason, Patrick Laine. You cannot tell me you need a better center, a better. No, no. You had no reason. He was applause when he scored a goal with Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal fans gave him everything on the plate. Everything. And now he act that way. And now he's starting to talk about he still play video. He go on the social media, on the podcast talking about his problem. No, don't do that. Focus on one thing, play hockey. And play hard, play effort, compete. It's not about Kirby Dak, it's not about Alex Newhook, it's about himself. And I'm telling you right now, Montreal again does not need a Patrick Laine at all. Not at all. The way he play right there. And move on with him during the summer. Don't bring him next season. Don't bring him around because his
How
negativity
are you?
of his mindset is more harder for the Montreal Canadiens inside the locker room. He's not a teammate. He's not. a good teammate for the rest
This
of the
blows
team.
my mind. This blows my mind. In the period of 2 weeks, we've gone from this guy is the greatest thing in the world to he's the worst thing in the world, and he's got to go because what? He played a bad game or two. I
No, 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 no,
really
no, no, no,
find
no, no,
that
no. It's the same kind of
It's
Patrick
more.
Laine you see today. It was the last 6 years and NHL.
no, no,
Same way.
no.
Same
No,
way.
nobody was saying this about Patrick Laine when he was scoring 6 power play goals in his first 6 games with the Canadiens, and he's got 18 points in 24 games. Nobody was complaining about Patrick Laine when they were giving him the first star, and he was out there and he was getting standing ovation from the team. The only time that this has started coming up about Patrick Laine is in the last week or so when his game has fallen off a little bit. And I get
How many goals he has at 5 versus 5, Devin?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
How many
That's
goals?
the-
It's
it is.
not
It is,
he did
Devin.
not produce. How many goals minus he has
Right.
with that time?
He's struggling. His entire line is struggling, and I'm not talking about his production. I'm talking about how Montreal Canadiens fans can go from "you're the greatest thing in the world" to "I want to see you run over by a bus."
Because
No.
Montreal
Period of
that's
2
just
weeks.
because if you produce, Montreal fans will applaud you. If you do your job, they will applaud you every night. What look happening with Tobash? When you show up, they applaud him. If you have a 3 goal, they will applaud you. They will consist, but they will never
And
accept.
Dobesh-
And they will never
if Dobesh
accept
goes
a
on a
player with
five-game
effort.
if Dobesh goes on a 5-game losing streak, and gives up 4 goals a game for the next 5 games, they're going to want him run over by a bus the same way they wanted Caden Primo run over by a
But
bus.
that's normal. That's sport.
Yeah, but
But
It's not
Patrick Laine
normal.
is the
That's
same
not
thing.
normal.
Patrick
That's
Laine
the
is
extreme.
Patrick Laine is something he does for years after years.
That's not normal behavior from human beings. To go from loving
Yeah,
somebody to absolutely hating their guts and wishing that they were gone and away in
So
a period of
what
2
you want them
weeks.
to
No,
do?
It's
So
not
he scored a
normal.
goal at power play. You don't applaud, so that's okay. It's not big deal. We move on. Well, you want when you want the fans react if they score
Okay.
5 goals
Okay,
at
so
power
here's
play.
how do I want them to react? I want them to react and say, you know what? Patrick Laine is a great hockey player and he's struggling right now. And if he looks like he's lazy on the ice, then maybe he's got some issues going on in his life, which we're aware of because he's been very open about his mental health issues. And that, for the last 3 or 4 games, he hasn't looked that good. Maybe we'll wait and see how he does over a longer period of time and then make a decision, as opposed to saying that we don't need him on the team anymore based on 3 or 4 games.
He
When
will
we were
never
in love with him
change.
2 weeks
He will
ago.
never change. He will be
No,
the
no.
same player today, tomorrow,
Right,
next
well,
week.
see, that's not normal behavior. That's not normal behavior, saying that somebody will never change. People change all the time, right? He's changed in the fact that he's talking about his mental health for the first time ever in his life. He started talking about it. He's prepared to deal with it, and he's looking to move on from it. People can change. He has changed. Marty St. Louis talks about it all the time, how he's happier going to the rink. He talked about it in his interview with Spitting Chicklets, how he didn't think he was ever going to play hockey again. And now he's enjoying going to the rink and he's enjoying playing hockey. Yeah, there's going to be setbacks and there's going to be times where his mental health kicks up, and Montreal needed to be prepared for that when they took him on. They need to be prepared for the fact that maybe this guy's mental health is going to be a problem again, and we're not going to be able to, we're going to have to deal with that. And it's, to say that he's never going to change, like don't ever talk about mental health and how it's important to talk about things if you don't believe that somebody with mental health issues can change.
I'm not
Because
talking
that's
about
not
mental
fair.
health. I'm talking about his play on the ice. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, but
Is
why-
a Patrick
why is
Laine?
this-
Do you think Patrick Laine is going to be a great defenseman on the defensive zone coverage tomorrow, next week, and next month?
We're not talking about who. Is that what you expected from Patrick Laine, to be a great defensive forward?
I need effort. I need compete. He needs to back the king. He needs to force the king. He needs to hit. He needs to play every freaking game. That's what I'm looking for about Patrick Laine. I don't want a guy sit
But
on
it's mental
the
games.
dots on the power play goal and to wait for the puck and shoot the puck and that's it. Or the puck go around me. It's not a big deal. Gilby that can do. He can find a way together, or just guy can pick up the
Sure.
puck. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at a guy
Okay,
compete
hold on,
every
hold
single
on.
game. They want a jersey, Montreal
on.
Canadiens. He could be pissed out, Jack
But you're
guy,
basing that on,
and
you're
David,
basing that on 3
everybody.
or 4 games.
It's not about
You're basing
Patrick
that
Laine
on
mental
no,
illness.
no.
It's about the players
think-
set up every
guys.
day, show up at the game, and to make an effort. Like he did not the last game. He did not during his
Guys.
career in NHL. What effect he scored a goal?
Listen,
If Montreal Canadiens wanted
I
a player
think I
like
think
that, it
we're
would
looking
never
at.
work in Montreal with a fence. Never, never, never.
I think I think we're
Well, if
I
you're
think we're
ready to make
looking
that
at it from
decision based on
very.
3 or 4 games,
No,
I mean,
no, no, no.
I'm not
That's.
ready.
I think
I'm not
we're
ready to make
looking at.
that decision about him on 3 or 4 games. I want to
No,
see
no.
more.
And
I want to see
I
more, and I
I
want to give
agree
him an
with that.
opportunity. I want to give him
But
an opportunity to prove that he's
in all
changed and that he
fairness,
can
though,
play
Devin,
that level.
in all fairness, like I think we're taking this to an extreme on both ends, right? In all fairness, all that was being said, and it's not like even when he was scoring. I mean, a bulk of those points, if not most of them, came on the power play, which is fine. That's exactly what he is. He's a specialist. He's got, I would say, in the top 5 players of the league in terms of a shot and accuracy. There's no debating that. But even when he was at his best with Montreal, there were holes in his game, be it defensively, be it 5-on-5, and that's the only point I was making. I wasn't trying to say that, hey, get rid of him because he didn't play well in these 2 or 3 games. Like that's not the issue at hand. All I kept saying, and that's why I had put him in the office, was the fact that we're seeing something that maybe doesn't fit what the structure of Montreal is moving forward. And I think that that's something that you have to take into consideration. And if you know that that's not going to be a part of your future for whatever reason, right? Then you need to move on at some point from that player. It might be at the end of 2 years. Granted, it
And
doesn't
I
have
don't
to
have
be.
I don't have any problem with that, Intertap. I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is that here's a guy who barely played any hockey for almost a year, right?
true.
Like we talked about Kirby Doc, and it took Kirby Doc 2, 3, 4 months, and arguably some people believe he's still not back to what he should have been, right? But Patrick Laine didn't play hockey for a lengthy period of time. You know,
Yes, you're right.
he's never going to be a solid defensive player. It's never going to be a part of his game. But he's got 18 points in 24 games. He's dealing with some of the demons that are going on in his brain over hockey. And to me, I just think it's supremely unfair to talk about him not fitting in with this team and not being a guy who can be a part of this team because he struggled for the last, let's say even conservatively, 5 or 6 games. Because I think overall, he's played 24 games this year. He's got 18 points. I get that a lot of those points are on the power play, but those are important points too, right? If it's not for his points on the
Absolutely.
power play, Canadians' power play stinks. Like he's
Hmm.
been the driver of their power play. Those points still count. And so for me, I just want to give him more time. One, because I know that when you're dealing with things that he's dealing with, sometimes there's setbacks. Sometimes you show up at the rink and you're like, screw it. I don't really want to, I'm not feeling it today. And I think that the Canadians, because of this approach that they're taking, what did Kent Hughes say was the most important asset that he was looking for when he hired Marty St. Louis? Emotional intelligence, right? So he wants to see his players and he wants to know what they need in their life and what's going on with them and give them an opportunity to be better hockey players. And so to me, like I said earlier, I presume that there's a conversation going on between St. Louis and Hughes and Laine
Yes.
about, hey man, what's going on with you? Are you okay? Right? What can we do here
But
to make this better? And that's
and I think
that's to me
he's
what I want to see from the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, and I think Marty St. Louis is the perfect guy for that. Like he is the kind of guy that takes each player individually and tries to get to know the actual player, and he does with each player set whatever standards he believes that they can reach. It's when they're not reaching it, then how do you react to
Yeah.
that, right? And it's not
And
just based on 1 or 2 games. I get that. Like I understand
if he
totally
can't
that
figure it out,
that second line is horrible, right? Like it's
and if he can't
and
figure
that's
it out, then
why I
absolutely
even
I
said,
agree with you.
yeah, and that's why I said, in all fairness, he deserves somebody that can drive the play on there. He's not the one that's going to drive the play. He's not that type of player. He's more of a specialist. He's more of a guy that gets. He's intelligent enough to get himself open in the right places. He's got, like I said, one of the best shots in the NHL and can score.
Yeah, I agree with
But you know, it's difficult to judge because until you put him in the surround him in those circumstances, it's unfair to jump one way or the other.
And what I see, to me, is I've seen in the last month, I've seen how great, and again, it's not just on the power play. We've seen as Canadiens fans what Patrick Laine is capable of being. Right? Has he done it all the time, and does he do it consistently? No. But to me, the top end of what Patrick Laine is capable of bringing to this team, I think is something worth exploring and trying to get to, and doing whatever they can to try and get to that. And like I said, if he can't figure it out at the end of this year, at the end of next year, do you say, okay, man, it's not really working out here. We're going to try and go another direction. Then you walk away. I got no problem with that.
Away.
But what I'm saying is that, like, right now, we've got 35 games left in this season, and I think that the Canadiens owe it to him. I think the Canadiens owe it to the fans to try and, because again, like I said, we've seen what this kid is capable of. We've seen what he can do on the ice when he's engaged and when he's feeling it and when he's happy and when he's there. We've seen that, and to me, I'd like to see that more consistently.
Yeah.
A player sit on the bench and play with his nail. So if the game play, never in my team. Never. We could be the best player in the world. A guy on the bench, yeah, I don't play or no. I don't know what I'm going to do. Man, it's not there. You have to be focused on the game and cheer for your players, whatever you bench or not. That's the team concept. For me, it's an X. That team concept, that's how it works. Bench him and just sit there. No problem. I can win, lose without a player with no effort on my team all the time. Next subject, Montreal Canadiens management record player a mess. Beck Mayu. This is Montreal Canadiens have really difficult time at some points. I don't know who is in charge about this. I expect it's Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes and Martin St. Louis. But here's happening. Montreal Canadiens carry on a 21, 22 players roster since the beginning of the season. Now you have an injury occurred during the week, and they called up at some point last week Raphael Harvey-Pinard. Before that, it was Owen Beck. They sent them down in Laval. They go on the road to go in Anaheim to play game without Mayu and Beck. They leave them at Laval. Laval play a game. They have Beck and Mayu in the roster. Somehow, they have Alex Bocage Laval. They had to send down 12 yards because Harvey Pinard was back with the Laval Rocket. But during the night of Montreal is already in California, they decide now to call Beck and Mayu to Anaheim to let the Laval Rocket without two players, and they cannot call back Alex Bocage at the same time. So they really mess up the lineup of the Laval Rocket without honestly thinking better and say, you know what, we need two players to be with us and travel with the team. So this is not the first time happening for the Montreal Canadiens. They managed 3 goalies last season for many times. You have a game, PLW will be agree with me because PLW said that too many times. They played a game last year with only 3 center. So you have a lot of management decision about call up, send down, and game decision about the roster at some point. It's not supposed to be happening in NHL. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's happening during the weekend for the season with Owen Beck. They call him down, then they send down for American Hockey League the game tonight. Don't be surprised tomorrow morning you wake up and you're going to see, oh, we called back a Beck and Mayu and the roster for the next 2 games. And then they come back at home Thursday. They send down back again to the Laval Rocket for a play against the Marlies Friday night. So how you feel about that in our tap?
Well, I thought initially it wasn't a horrible idea because the All-Star game was in California, and that's where Montreal has their next 3 games or next 2 after this Anaheim game. So it kind of made sense, and we kind of knew it because they were short of forward and they were short of defensemen, and lo and behold, who are the two people representing Laval at the All Star game? Back in Mayu. So that from that aspect, it kind of made sense. I think where I have a hard time understanding how they're using these players, right? Like if you're going to bring them up at some point, I mean, they need the fair opportunity to play so you can make decisions about it. If you're just going to play them like they do with Pizzetta for whatever 5 minutes, then you're you might as well not play them at all because they're not getting anything out of it. The team is still going to be double shifted, most of the players the entire evening, so it doesn't help on either count. So you're right. I'd like to understand their reasoning behind how they sort of adjudicate how these players are going to be used. The only thing I can come up with is I think they think highly of them, but not high enough to actually play the top minutes. Well, again, not the top minutes, but you understand what I mean. Like they're playing their regular shift with their respective lines, and it's created a big hole for Montreal because ever since Heineman went out of the lineup, the third and fourth line have just not been the same.
Devin?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, the timing of it all, as Coach pointed out, I don't get the timing of it all. Like to me, them waiting till the last minute to bring them up kind of was a little bit weird. I do get, I think, to an extent what they're trying to do. I don't think they want to mess with what's going on in Laval. I think that they see the positive things that are happening in Laval, and they don't want to ruin. They don't want to play around with that roster if they don't have to, because I think they do see the value in those players getting an opportunity to play, meaningful games, at the professional level, whether it's a playoff game or games leading up to a playoff. And which is why I think that you see them, calling players up when they're at home, but then not calling players up when they're on the road. So I wasn't really surprised that they didn't call up a forward, to be quite honest with you, because I thought they would just ride with Pizzetta while they were on the road. But then, of course, when Gouli got hurt, the question was who's going to be, that extra defenseman, because Struble comes in the lineup, and you got to have another guy just in case he gets hurt or somebody else gets hurt. You need that extra guy, and so I didn't really know how that was going to work out. And then you made the point in our group chat in our tap that the All-Star game was in California and that Beck and Mayu would be out there anyway, and that maybe it made sense that's what was going to happen. But again, I wasn't fully aware of the timing that Coach pointed out. Which again, if that's the case, which it obviously is, the timing of it all seems really really problematic, and that they didn't really have it planned out in a way that makes sense. So again, for me, I kind of get why they're trying to do as few call ups as they possibly can, because I do think they do see a value in leaving Laval alone. But again, the timing of it all, as Coach points out, is kind of weird. I didn't quite. I think I even said it in the group. It's like they why are they why are they calling these guys up now instead of waiting till after the game to call them up, and or just wait for them to come to Cal. I mean, presumably they had plans to come to California on a certain time frame anyway. So again, the timing of it seems weird, but again, I do get what they're trying to do. It doesn't appear to be working, but I get what they're trying to do.
So the next one is about time to split the first and second line. Are you agree or disagree about that, Devin?
I disagree. I don't think it's time to split the first and second line. I think the first line, to me, the second line needs to figure it out, obviously. And again, I think there's equal blame to go around between the three of those guys. I think they've shown glimpses of being good. I think there's been times where one guy has been good and the other two haven't. There's been times where two of them are good, but it really hasn't really been very many games where they've all three clicked. I don't see any value in breaking up the first line, frankly. I think that's obviously the biggest strength of this team right now is Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield. I don't see how it benefits the team to break them up. And frankly, I'd rather wait and see if the second line can figure it out. That's kind of the way I see it. Um, that's yeah. I mean, to me, I just don't want to break up that first line. First of all, I just really think that they're too valuable in every aspect of the game. Like they didn't have a great game last night in Anaheim, but again, I think they're capable of carrying a game. And that was kind of, to me, last night. That was, we expect other aspects of the Canadians game to struggle from time to time, but the fact that the first line struggled last night was kind of what really put it over the top and was a real indicator that they weren't going to be able to pull it off. Because even the Suzuki and Caulfield, who have been pretty steady forces, didn't have their best games last night. So my answer to that would be no. I don't think it's time to break up the first and second lines. I assume that's what you mean. You mean that you're gonna mix
Yeah,
and match
yeah,
those lines so that the pairings did change a little bit.
yeah. That's
That
that's exactly it. And I wouldn't split them up either. The only time it's ever really feasible to split up first and second line is when you have a true top six players, and maybe one's on a slump, and so you want to pair them up with somebody else so that maybe that can generate them or get them started. In this case here, I mean, that first line is driving. I'd say close to about 40% of your scoring, if not higher. Uh, why mess with that? Like, I'll keep working with Slavkovsky because I mean, the tools are there, but he still has a lot of learning to do. He has to use that big body of his a little bit more, and we've seen him use it from time to time in games. And he's got to hold on to that stick with two hands because this is the way he's just lashing out with one hand on the stick. It makes it easy for him to stop skating and rely on the possibility that he can swat the puck away. Right now, if you bring who are you going to bring up to that first line? That's the other issue. Like that could make that line better, or you're sacrificing quite a bit in this case, and you got to get all four lines rolling. That's the key. When they were successful, you had you had the first, the fourth, and the third line that were contributing in fair amounts each line, and the second line eventually started coming around a little bit. We don't have the depth to properly have a second line at this point. That will change with time, and that's what a whole rebuild is about. So we have to be patient. But for now, I would not change it around. Look at what's happened with the defense, right? Moving people on the wrong side because of injuries or because to accommodate three lefties and three righties, and it's thrown the whole defensive structure, which they were starting to really buy into the system, um, out of whack, and they're making mistakes now. And sometimes you can't blame them on that because that's when you're out of your regular position and out of your proper chair, these kind of things have to happen.
yeah, I think after 5 game, I would make some modification for the Montreal Canadiens. But the problem is like they don't have some depth. They don't have. They are tied up. The only player they can share, in my opinion, right now, they have more duo together, right? You have Caulfield is Suzuki. You can maybe remove Sakaski out. But who really can go there? Like they have to
Exactly.
use a bottom six. You don't can bring New Hope over there. You cannot going to bring. You can bring Kirby Duck, but Kirby Duck should be evaluated as a center until to the end of the season to realize who is going to be, uh, what will be the next for him. So the only player right now could go there is Patrick right there. But I feel like you need to complete that line a skater where he can win the battle and puck retrieval like a hunter. And I don't think he can fix that problem with the first line. So it's limited. You have to bring maybe Josh Anderson,
Very,
Joel
very.
Armia, whatever it is, but it's not the first line. I think one comment for N26 is really well. The only time you evaluate guys could be that. Do you feel right now, or are you agree or disagree, Devin and Artap? Sakaski
No.
is a second line and not a first line. And the
Right
first serve.
now,
And the first serve for the Montreal Canadiens.
disagree.
I think he has the tools to be on the first line. And if he finds himself on the second line, I mean, that's great news because it would mean that somebody's playing on the right side that, is really complementing that first line very well. And that fortifies the second line if you've got him on there as well. But I mean, we got to be patient with Slavkovsky and a few other. These are all young kids. Like we're saying, no, they're hitting a brick wall right now because they haven't played this many games. That's partially true, but again, as soon as if you recall, the number one thing I said that really contributed to why the Habs are doing as well as they were during that streak was the fact that they finally had their health. Everybody was there. Everybody you had, up to this point, the right lines to roll with. The defensive core was there. The goaltending, as a result, was much more effective, and that's what you need. As soon as you start poking a player out of the lineup because they got hurt, like a Gooley, Heineman in this case, you got a couple of other players that are playing hurt, like an Anderson. It really, when you don't have the depth, it really limits you. Some teams can overcome an injury. A good team that has the depth, they can overcome an injury or two, but not Montreal with where they are right now in their rebuild, and that's where the patience has to be. We got to wait till we get to that stage.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to say that I think that Slavkovsky is a purebred first liner. I just think that at this stage of his
Right.
career, it's difficult to say that he's not something. I think he's shown us. I think he showed us in the second half of last year that he's capable of playing at a first line level in the NHL. He's only 20 years old. There's a lot of road in front of him. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe that he's 100% going to be a truly capable first line player in the NHL. But again, I think it's far too early to make any judgment about what Slavkovsky's going to be at the end of the day. And has he? Again, I hesitate to use the word regress because I don't know what's going on with him. Right? We would have said that Cole Caulfield was regressing last year, right? We would have said that Cole Caulfield is regressing. He's not scoring goals the way he used to. His game looks a little bit off. It looks weird. He's maybe his shoulder's still bothering him or whatever. But realistically, he was working on something, and now he's put it all together. So again, I hesitate to make that judgment about Uri Slavkovsky at this early stage of his career. He's still only 20 years old. He's still the youngest player on the team. And again, I'm not going to make a judgment on whether or not he's a first or second line player at this point in his career.
A great point about when you talk about David, like evaluation, right? We don't know what he could become in NHL, right? But for
Yeah.
what I can see, are you agree with me, both of you, he's going to be like more like a 25 goal and maybe 65 point in NHL?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where he's at. I mean, could it improve? It all depends on how strong your top six are, because he's the
Do you
kind of
feel
guy
now,
that.
Devin Demidov, it would be a player with 80 point, 90 point, and it would be better to put Demidov over Sakaski? Just if we don't know the future, right? But is it more
Yeah.
small
So
common sense to put Demidov over Sakaski?
yeah, I mean, both of those guys are very early in their careers, right? And I'm with you. I get it. Like I watch, probably not as much as you do, but I watch a lot of Demidov as well, and he looks fantastic in the KHL. But the KHL is different than the NHL, and so when I look at both of those guys, I look at two guys who have shown spectacular talent at every level as they progressed up the way, right? Like we can go back to Slavkovsky playing in the World Championship at 18 years old or whatever he was, and being one of the best players in the tournament. I think didn't he win the MVP? So I don't put anything past a kid like Slavkovsky. Right? He's one of those kids who's like, driven to be excellent, and he's and as is Demidov, right? Demidov is one of those guys who, you know, every day you watch him play, he seems to do something special. He's a special player, and special players do special things. So, again, do I think that one guy would be over the other? Again, it's hard for me to say that. I think they're both awesome. And I think they're both capable of incredible things. But I also think one's 19 years old and one's 20 years old, and I really have a hard time deciding what I think they're capable of. I really do. And I mean, I think that I think that both of them could be 80, 90, 100-point guys in the NHL someday. I think either one of them could be.
Yeah.
Just because I don't put anything past either one of them, because they've both shown me at certain points of their life and certain points of their career that they can do things that are incredible and spectacular.
Yeah, but I think for a long time, if I see, I see the future for both players. I see many times. I don't see Sakeski to be a regular 80-point in NHL. In my opinion.
Yeah, maybe.
I will see. Expect Tobesh return
wait and see.
to Laval. Primo back with the Montreal Canadiens. Agree, disagree, and after.
That's a tough.
Nothing is easy enough. That when you come here, do you think it's going to be easy?
No, but I mean, the conversation around it. I mean, you have to look at it from the perspective: what has Dobesh done that is wrong or bad? Nothing. If anything, he's created a goalie controversy, if you want to call it that. I don't think there is, but I think that that conversation has come up from time to time in limited games and sample size that we have available. So we're seeing Primo excel at the AHL level. Nothing he hasn't done in the past. The problem for him has he been able to relate that at the NHL level? And I haven't seen it. I didn't see it last year. I didn't see it this year. I didn't see it in spot duties the year before last year. So at this point, I would say no. Dobesh seems to be happy here, and he's performing relatively well. He's keeping the Habs in the games. I think from a technical point of view, he's better than Montebo from the way he protects the net. I like what I see in the kid, and I would keep him here at this point.
Evan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen. I'm going to say it's not. It's certainly not in my. It's not in my sort of vision right now. Like, I don't see that as something that's likely to happen anytime soon. Is there a potential that someday down the road, like if Dobesh starts to struggle and loses 5 or 6 games in a row, and his goals against, he allows 3 or 4 goals a game for 5 or 6 games, and I'm not going to say it couldn't happen. I mean, Primo's obviously playing really well right now in Laval, but so is Dobesh. Dobesh is doing more than enough to keep his job in Montreal, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. But again, I'm not going to say it could never happen.
Okay, it was a bit of squeeze.
And it's better for his confidence, right? It's better for his confidence. And why not let him build his? Let him build up his asset, his value, right? You could always use him at the end of the year to make a trade.
Yeah, and Dobesh, let's be honest. I mean, Dobesh has more of a future on the Montreal Canadiens than Caden Primo does. And so the Canadiens are going to have more of an interest in him being in the NHL than they are Caden Primo. So, but again, like you said, if he can build up his value in the American Hockey League as far as a trade asset, then that's great too. So, I think that they're both decent goaltenders. One right now is probably ahead of the other, and I think that for now he's going to keep that job in Montreal.
It was a tricky question, guys, but I want to bring you the point behind that. Okay? So I was just waiting to hear, and A2 said, "Coach, you throw right now." Is the point, guys? How I see that, and I think both of you be agree with me. Montreal Canadiens the next month All right, until March, I think Montreal is going to be down in the standing. Are you, you know, I look like it's going to be not in the race at some point. And I think for me, it would be better for Tobesh to play with the Laval Rocket after that, to bring that team in the playoff, and to have that challenge in the playoff to go all the way with Laval Rocket. I'd stay with the Montreal Canadiens and bring back Primo because at the end of the day, it's more important to develop Tobesh at sit every 2 game, every 3 game on the bench in March and April when you have a chance to carry on that team at Laval Rocket all the way to the end. And I think for me, they said all the time, if you remember when they draft Sakaski and other players, we said the reason we like from them, they play big game, big challenge in front of them, the Olympics tournament, the Memorial Cup example. I think for the Bears, it would be more benefit, not today, not next week, but at some point to send him and Laval to get those kind of challenge and bring that team to feel what it looked like the playoff and to rock and it will be rock and roll at the Laval Plus and Builder Center. That will be better at bring Primo all the way to the end. So I'll be back with you now. I will ask, are you agree or disagree with me and after?
I don't think the need is there. I think the benefit for his confidence that he gets is more being with the big team than it is being with AHL. I understand your point about the experience of being in a hopefully a very solid and deep playoff run. But I mean, it's also important to be on a team that you aspire to be with for a long time and building the chemistry there and just feeling that you're a part of that. And ultimately, isn't that what all the players are aspiring to? Is to be in the NHL? So why take the step back? I personally I don't see it, but
Only 1 game per week, and not better at to play
well,
every game in Laval Rocket and to have
yeah.
that
But I
challenge,
think
like
I
because
think
we
the
said that Laval is important to win, to feel that win with the team together, to have the next generation of players going to pop up with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, but you're also we're forgetting also that these guys have played already together in different situations. Like they're all around the same age group and they all came from the same place. So it's not like they're missing out on anything in particular. I agree with you that he shouldn't be playing like every third or fourth game. I think that there should be a little bit better balance. I don't understand why he constantly goes to Monty. I think he's trying to obviously send a message that he's their number one and point well taken. But at the same point, you have to think about your backup that is a part of your future and give him the opportunity to excel as well. So, I don't see why it can't be 2 games Monte and one Dobesh.
Again, Devin, this is not like a send down for because his performance is to get.
No, I'm with you completely, Coach, and I agree with you. I think that you make a great point, and and that's not just because we agreed or we disagreed early on. I do think you're making a great point. We talked earlier. I talked earlier about the benefit and the value of having young players play important hockey games, and being part of a team that goes on a playoff run and goes to the playoffs. And I think if you'd asked the Montreal Canadiens at the beginning of this year, if you'd asked Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, you know what the plan was, I think the plan would have been for Dobash to stay in Laval for the entire year and experience that, right? They would have planned for Primo to be the backup in Montreal and for Dobash to be the starter in Laval and to be the starter in Laval who led them to the playoffs and took them through a playoff run. Unfortunately, because of the way Primo played through the first 35 or 40 games of the season, that plan had to change. So again, you make a good point, I think, Coach, in that there would be value if the Canadiens fell out of the race and their games didn't, they weren't in the mix and they weren't playing quote unquote meaningful games through the last 25 or so games of the season. Would it make sense to send Dobesh back down to Laval so that he could experience that? I think that is something that would be a positive for his development, and it would make some sense. It would make sense to do that. I agree with that.
Following that, like you just said, don't be surprised. We have a couple of players join with the Laval Rocket, and they are now the best team in the American Hockey League for the winning percentage. We expect Kapanen, Vincent Rohrer, Jacob Fuller, Tobesh, Strobel, and I forget to put Ray Barker could join the Laval Rocket at some point until to the end of the season. So this is going to be we're going to do all the game to Rocket, the Laval Rocket, and after when you're going to play in the playoff. But this is going to be a good way to Montreal Canadiens to have a great end of the season. Whatever happening with the Montreal Canadiens, at least you have the Laval Rocket to have that opportunity to learn and to grow with the playoff in front of them. We have to give credit, Devin and Arta, to Pascal Vincent with the team
Yes.
behind the bench, but to add Kapanen, Rover, Fuller, Tobesh, Trouble, that will helping them to have a very solid team. And the return of Joshua Roy from injury, I think this team could make some damage about that. So, what do you think about this in our top?
All very viable options for Laval to take on when it comes to the playoffs. The only caveat I'm going to throw out there is the fact that you got to be careful not to necessarily upset the structure that they have in place right now and the chemistry that they have going with each other, right? To put in too many players all at once uh, could be a little bit setting them back, even though they're probably more talented than some of the players that are currently on the team. But the issue is they haven't played together all year long. They haven't developed the same kind of chemistry that some of their current players have. I would definitely add two, maybe even three of them, but I wouldn't go all five.
David, any comments about the Laval Rocket, or do you think any player forget to could join the Laval Rocket or the for RHP, honestly? But
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree completely with what Intertap said there. Like, for me, obviously, it would be a great opportunity for all of those players to get in the mix and get an opportunity to play at the professional level in a situation like that. But again, you do also have to be careful about helicoptering in guys,
yeah,
and all of a sudden, you're bringing in Kapanen and you're what you're getting rid of Luke Tuck, or you're getting rid of Jared Davidson, or guys who got you there. But again, like the opportunity for a guy like Kapanen or Rohrer in particular, I think would be interesting to get into the mix. Not that mix, but a different mix. It would be interesting to get hit, but it's yeah, no, I agree. It would be I think Fowler is the most intriguing one of all of them, frankly. I mean, to me, if you went, if the Laval Rocket went into sort of the last 10 or 15 games of the regular season with Dobesh and Fowler as their goaltenders, that'd be really fun to watch.
how can you be 0-0 in the All Star game? 4 versus 4. But
Defensive
Boston
struggle.
College, they 5-1.
They're playing like 10-minute. It's like 10-minute 3-on-3 games between each of the
5-5.
conferences.
Yeah,
Yeah, Beck scored a goal earlier.
yeah. So we should happening about that. The subject tonight was the Calder Trophy in our top. Honestly, we won't talk about this tonight. Maybe what we are. And I want to hear from you what you think about that. I make a video today. I talk about the Calder Trophy, my ranking. But this is what we are. Celebrini, 37 points, 0.088 per game. Hutson, 39 points, 0.75. Wolf, 2.50, 0.917. Mitchkov, 34 points, 65 points per game. Stankoven, 25.50. You can add, Will Smith is looking a little bit better.
Will Smith.
And the package behind them. They have another one that is looking better is Yuri Kulich from the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh,
I think he has 11
yeah.
goals right now. So this is really the one part. You think about this in our top. What would be your ranking after that in a event? The three top players of the Calder Trophy, and maybe said, you know what, it's going to be between this player and this player.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Let's go, Devin.
Go ahead, Amrita.
And after that, you can wait a little bit. You can take more in
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, as you know, I mean, if you would have asked me this, a week and a half ago, I was pretty high on Lane Hutson, and I mean, I guess I still am to a certain degree, but he's hit a bit of a wall right now. I think that even a week and a half ago, I probably would have said that Hutson should win it, but Celebrini probably will because he, has the production. He's a forward, all of that stuff. He's the number one draft pick. All those advantages that he would have. Now I mean, Hudson has kind of fallen off a little bit. Wolf is in the mix now too. Wolf has done. Wolf is, again, he just continues to get better and better and better. So I think right now, if I had to bet money on who I thought was going to win the Calder Trophy, I would probably have to go with Celebrini. I think that Michkov has fallen off the pace, and Stankoven I don't think is even in the discussion anymore. So right now, I would probably go Celebrini one, and then Wolf and Hutson neck and neck for second for number two.
And I thought,
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I mean, Celebrini, number wise, is getting there where Hudson is. In I believe it's 10 games less that he's played because of injury, so you can see it there with the points per game. And he's got more opportunity down the road because he's centering the first line there in San Jose, so it's going to give him a lot of chances, obviously, to build on those things. I, I mean, I absolutely love what Wolf has been doing for Calgary. If you ask me, he's the major reason why they're in a playoff position as of today. Unfortunately, it usually doesn't go to a goaltender. So he's got that working slightly against him. It's not that it's never happened, but it's not traditional that they go that route. Uh, and I did say in one of our challenges early on in the year, I think you're absolutely or not at all was will Hudson be in the finalist for the Calder Trophy? And I said yes then, so I'm going to say yes now. I think the order you have it there is probably the order it will finish off in.
yeah, it's pretty where I am right now, right? One, two, three. But I think Wolf could have a push if the Flame make the playoff, even. I think could help him a little bit. I think IDP have a good point. If he can keep that same percentage at 0.9117, he can maybe go to 0.920. I think we'll have better chance to beat everybody on the board. I think Michkov St. is too far right now, and Michkov's situation is looking worse. So I don't
Not
see
good.
that. The struggling Hudson could be a problem at some point. And Celebrini, honestly, uh, who win the Calder Trophy at 18 years old, he could become the sixth one in NHL.
Uh, yep.
Not Wayne Gretzky.
Who win last year?
Uh,
Bedard.
Last year,
As
Bedard,
one,
yeah.
one of
Bedard,
them.
Lemieux, Mario Lemieux won probably at 18.
No, I think Lemieux show up at 20 years old, but I could be wrong. But I think so. He is there. I'll give you some. Dale Awachuk,
Dale
Bobby Orr,
Hawerchuk. Okay.
get that
Right.
one. Connor Bedard, get another one. And now I miss it. This is coming in my head. On my
Pierre
head.
LaRouche.
I see that. I see that like today. I can
I don't
remember
think
all the
so.
five players right there. So I would Chuck Bobby or Connor Bedard. Could be Lemieux, but I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if someone that
Crosby?
Chuck can do the. It can do the. Lemieux was 19, but someone can do that. PLW, right? Wayne Gretzky never won the Calder Trophy, by the way. Crosby is another one.
Yeah,
Crosby
Crosby.
is another
Yeah,
one.
that's
Yeah. So
what
I
I was
good
saying.
everybody
Yeah.
about that. So I just want to showing that happening, guys. We're going to move on to the clash if you don't mind, guys. Tonight we have a national question because David loved the promo, the prediction in our tab. So I gave him about that. Don Beaupré, Marc Elliott, Don Beaupré, Don Beaupré, make me laugh. Don Beaupré. I see Beaupré with the Minnesota North Star.
North
Uh,
Stars, yeah.
yeah. Here we go. First one. This will be easy. One of you will be agree, disagree. Crosby is going to be traded this summer. Lenny is going to be traded this summer, and after that.
Uh, Devin, you start.
I mean, I'm going to say not at all for two reasons. One, I don't think I think that his performance will not warrant him being traded, and two, if his performance, is such that he's not playing well, I don't think that they'll be able to trade him. I think his contract will be hard to trade. So, in either case, I think he'll be hard. He'll be hard to trade. So I'll say not at all.
I think if you get the right deal, it's just like anything else. I think if you always get the right deal, you always have to consider it. It's not the direction I necessarily want them to take because I think it's only fair that he's given the opportunity to finish off his contract here, and then next year you make the decision. So I'll go with not at all as well.
Yeah, it makes sense when you think about that, right? Um,
Yeah,
about that,
like if
that
somebody's gonna make you a great offer, be it at trade deadline time or at the end of, I mean, during the summer it'll be it's you won't get as I don't think you'll get as lucrative offer as you would at the trade deadline time because a team that thinks they're just one specialist away from winning that cup and can improve their power play, they might be convinced to give you the moon.
I checked the trophy, guys. We have Connor Bedard, Aaron Ekblad, Nathan McKinnon, Jeff Skinner, Tom Pariseau, Delaware Chuck, and Bobby Orr. All the winner are
Uh,
18 years old. The Calder
Not Don
Trophy.
at
Beaupre.
18.
At the Calder Trophy.
Not Don.
But I forgot one thing about that, guys. It was to be sure you are the first overall pick of the NHL draft.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have to remove Jeff Skinner and Tom Barresso. So it's honestly our Chuck McKinnon and Glad Ibelal. So that's the reason Mario Lemieux is not there, look like anyway. Let's move on for the next thing, guys. Beck and Mayu play right now on the American Hockey League, and Devin, if you can follow that, that'd be great. Um, it makes sense about
What's your
this.
answer, Coach?
I'm sorry?
What's your answer?
Absolutely. And I think for me, it would not because only Laney. I think it will add some player in the lineup. Now, you have a choice. This is not absolute. You have a choice to take Patrick Laney or Pierre-Luc Dubois in Arta. Which one do you take?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, Coach. The things you put up there. Oh man. Are you talking about right now at this moment? The way they're performing?
Yeah, right now.
Well, right now, uh, I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois is doing very good things. I think that trade from LA has helped him out of LA. He seems to be content. He's doing well. But I'm gonna go with Take Laney or PLW. So it's not an absolutely or not at all here. It's one or the other is what you want. So I'm going to say hang on right now in line A and see what happens next year. Even though PLD is doing much better right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you're talking about right now, I take PLD, but overall, I probably take Line A. If for no other reason than the fact that he's addressed the reasons why he has struggled in his career. He's been upfront about it, whereas PLD, obviously is doing well in Washington right now. But if he falls apart or continue or starts to struggle, then the door is not open in the same way to deal with the issues the way they have been that they are for Line. So if you're asking about like today, who do I want on my team to play a game tomorrow? I take PLD, but overall, I take Patrick Line.
I go. I go with Pierre Dubois right now, and I think at long term, I think Pierre Dubois would be a longer career in NHL at this moment. Let's move on to the next one. Montreal Canadiens above 500 at the end of the year, Devin.
Absolutely. I do think that they will. Obviously, I think they're going to take a step back from the way they've played over the last, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But again, I do think they will finish over 500. I think they will improve on last year. I think they'll improve on their goals against. I think they'll improve on their goals for. So I will say absolutely they will finish above 500 at the end of the season.
I don't know. What is the score, Devin, on your TV right now?
I have 1-0 for Central over the North Division right now, with
Are,
1:12 left in the
are you going to
first
be
period.
surprised if I tell you it's 2-1 right now for the North?
Well, I just saw a goal. Somebody who's number 4 just scored a goal, whoever that is.
So it's
For
2-1 in Devin right now, and they play on the second period right now.
Okay, well, I've got a minute left in the first period.
I have a what you I'm wrong. It's a 16-second remaining at the period number one, but this the that's the website I got right now on the chat on the and the American Hockey League. So, and after apologize for that one.
No, it's okay. I'm going to go with absolutely as well. I think they've got 30 games left. So we're asking them to go approximately, 15 and 15 the rest of the way, and that would put them over the 500 mark, which I think is very doable, especially given if you look at their strength of schedule. They have the fourth best strength of schedule the rest of the way for the season. So the opportunities there for them. Hopefully, they'll be able to grasp at it and stay healthy enough to actually achieve it. So absolutely.
Davis scored a both goal for North America, and now they lead 3-1. We score a goal, so it's 3-1. Devin, if you want to know the score.
I'm just watching it right now.
You're
Oh,
going
nice
to get a
goal by
goal right
81.
there the next few seconds at the beginning of the second.
Whoever
Uh,
number 81 is, he just scored a really nice
yeah,
goal.
Murray, the big fellow for the
Murray, yeah.
Rochester, I believe.
Oops.
He's a big boy.
Hey,
And after
coach.
I go with
Nice.
under on that one. Whatsoever they have
Um,
a good schedule, right? They are 4/5 best schedule. A goal between the skate, by the way, by Murray. So the next one, Devin again. Jake Evans signed or stay with the Montreal Canadiens at the end of the trade deadline.
I think that Jake Evans is a Montreal Canadian after March the 7th. I think he sticks with the team.
Absolutely.
I think they have. I think yeah, absolutely. I think they have an intention to sign him. Like he wants to stay. I think with the announcement that we've recently had about the salary cap increasing, I think that improves the chances that he sticks around. I will say absolutely, Jake Evans is a Montreal Canadian on 8th of March, 2025.
And after,
I would tend to agree. I think that he will resign with Montreal. I think the team wants it. He wants to stay there. The only question mark I have is if a team comes along and offers him even $1 million or a year more than whatever Montreal's target is for the same number of years, he'd almost be foolish not to take it. I get that sometimes we have to value our lifestyle and how comfortable we are with our team and the city that you live in, and that should take precedence. But if, let's say, it's a 4 or 5 year contract and somebody's offering you $1 million extra, you're leaving $4 or $5 million on the table. And at the end of the day, it is a business for the players who have families and set it up. If that
Um, I get absolutely with the Montreal Canadiens. Next one. And after. Sakiski reached 50 points. I did it
I think
before.
he's
Let's
frozen.
move on that one. I apologize. I'll go with this one. Ottawa finished third and Columbus made the playoff in after.
I think he's frozen, Coach. Yeah, he's
David, you can
gone.
go back with that one. Ottawa finished
Yeah,
third and Columbus make the playoff.
yeah. I think Ottawa. I think there's a good chance that Ottawa finishes in that third place spot. But again, like we talked about earlier in the show, I think that Columbus with Marchenko, is gonna looks like he's gonna miss a significant amount of time. And again, I'm not sure about Monahan's status, whether his injury is long
Oh,
term or
he's
not.
pushed
But
back late because his wrist. So I don't expect him
yeah,
at least March, middle March.
yeah. So if both of those guys are out for any significant amount of time, I think it's going to be hard for Columbus to make it. I do love the story, and I do love the fact that they're a bit of a Cinderella team, but I I don't see if those two guys are out for any significant amount of time. I don't see them making the playoffs. I do think that Ottawa has a good chance of being in that third place position when the season's all said and done. But I it's hard to say that Columbus will be there with those injuries.
And after
Back in.
look like you did not like the question, so you left, or maybe you tried to look about the standing, then come back.
Yeah, I want to go do some research. um, what's the question here? Will Ottawa
Owen
finish
Beck scored
third?
his third goal of the night. Sorry
Sorry,
about
say that
that. The
again.
question is Ottawa finished third and Columbus made the playoff in after.
Oh, both things? No, I don't think that happens. I think Ottawa makes it. Columbus doesn't. Simple. Not at all.
And finish the last one. Randy said, ask if the Flame make the playoff, coach. But I would send the question and I ask you, which team has more points at the end of the season between the Montreal Canadiens and the Calgary Flames?
Well, right now there's I think a six point differential between the two.
Something like that,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I mean it's tough when you're down to the last 30 games. Yes, it can be made up, but Calgary's going very well. I think that they believe that they can make the playoffs. They're getting some key performances from a handful of players. So I think they'll be able to maintain that, like especially with the fact that really the West now has come down to two teams that are going to make that final spot. It's either Vancouver or it's Calgary. So it's going to be a dogfight all the way down to the end, and I think that Calgary could make it. Yeah.
David?
And Montreal, to answer your question, Montreal will not have more points than Calgary.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Intertap. I think that Calgary finishes the season with more points than Montreal. Um, yeah, they've got a head start. They appear to be a better team right now. I've got them finishing ahead.
Yeah.
Awesome for everybody. We did the clash. Montreal Canadiens have 4 games on the program next week. I'm going to check the bubble, everybody, to see what we have. Sometimes I'm losing how many points we got last week. How many points we did last week, Mr. Nata?
How did we do? I don't remember.
I did bad.
Devin, how many points we did last week? The Montreal Canadiens.
4, I think I said.
Zero.
No, they had 0 or
Oh,
1.
them. I thought our prediction.
1
So
point.
the prediction,
1
guys,
point.
zero. And we don't have anybody.
With 0?
Yeah.
Wasn't it 1? Didn't they have the
AK
New
said
Jersey
one.
game? The New Jersey game was overtime.
Oh, yeah. No. Last week.
Yeah. Yeah. 4-3.
Saturday.
I think it was either 3-2 or 4-3. I can't remember the exact score, but it was overtime.
So last week we got
Jack
New
Hughes.
Jersey.
Jack Hughes scored. Jack Hughes scored on the
Last week was
on
not.
the breakaway.
Oh, we did not do last week, right? We did not do Winnipeg, Minnesota.
Maybe. I thought we did, but
Because Minnesota,
I'm not sure.
Winnipeg. We did the weekly report. We did the weekly report. It
On a
was only
Monday.
for 4 point, maybe. See, I cannot remember.
I don't remember. You got to write down which games they are.
Too many things going on here. I think it was six one there. So I said 2 again. I see Josie win Abination about that one with there. So I don't know, honestly. I have 6 points on the game last week. But I don't know. We'll go to reset anyway. And we're going to go with 4 game next week, guys. So we have 8 points. We can go the total. It will be 8 point. 2-0. I'm going to start with Devin because I have many points anyway. It's not change anything. Honestly, San Jose, Kings, New Jersey, and the Devils again.
I am going to say they will finish with, of 8 available points, they will finish with, it's either 4 or 5.
Oh.
I am going to say 4. 4 points for those 4 games.
Enough that.
I'm gonna go with 5. I thought you were gonna go 5, but I'm gonna go with 5.
Thought about it.
A2 go with 2. And after you go with 5.
5, yeah.
I go with 3. On that
Ye
one.
of
I
little
thought,
faith.
Devin, you were going to get 3. I'll be honest with you. I thought you would be with 3 when you said 3 or 4. Randy go with 3. Ron would go with 2. LDP go with
People are
4.
counting out.
6-1
Come back
BC.
in the house. Luke go with 2. So, Mr. Tap,
Which
I
2, Luke?
make
Which 2,
a
Luke?
change on my Bible. I put the game on the standing so I can know exactly what's going on next
Which
week.
ones they were?
I can never find that one, of course. Mark Elia go with 5. Oh, Mark follow in our tap on that one. About this, peut-être, Mark. What about you, Nicolas? I did not put your score, Nicolas. Can you give me? For the fact you said 0. 5, you're watching the show team in our tap. Do you know how many points? James, James go with 5. 849. Nicolas go with 1. Nicolas. Here we go. Nicolas get 1 point on the board. James with 5. San Jose for that one. 5 Abination would be nice for Abination about that one. I don't know if we have anybody else on that chat, but that's what we got for a game for the Montreal Canadiens. 1 point for Nicolas. I got it, my friend. About that. Finally, I want to finish with that, guys, because we do every day. You follow me on my X account. The Montreal Canadiens prospect, and not that one, but that one, 3-star of the week, guys. I'm not going to mention put the name on the board, but I'm going to show to you the video of the Montreal Canadiens, if I can get it, of the 3-star of the weeks for where is it, man? I lost that one. Here we go. We got that one, guys. First of all, Tyler Thorpe scored 2 goals during the weekend. It's 21 goal of the year for Tyler Thorpe. What a great week for the
Torpedo.
Vancouver Giants. Top the 6-5 at 21 goals this season with the team. Then after that, I want to mention to you guys, Logan Sawyer got 2 goals this week and NC with plus 1 assist. 4 goals of the season for the young prospect of Montreal Canadiens. You can see him right now score a goal over the glove against the team Yukon for Logan Sawyer. This goal was his third of the year. The next day, he scored his fourth of the season with the team Providence. Logan Sawyer again. Then I'm going to talk about Evan Demidav. Evan Demidav a 5 point last week in 3 games, 3 goals, 2 assists for Evan Demidav. Another prospect from Montreal have a great week. Of course, he was the player of the week in the KHL. And Logan Sawyer was also the player of the week, rookie of the week, and Eastern Conference of the NCAA. So 3 players for the Montreal Canadiens on the prospect have a good week. Of course, we see the goal of Nick Kishin. Talking about Demidov, Devin, what happening to him? He play tomorrow.
He does play tomorrow.
11:30
plays
against the
again.
team AK Bars.
Yeah.
So Demidov will be back. Possible he can beat the record of the 42 point of Kaprizov. It's just a question of the time. I expect him to be on the first line with the team SKA. But SKA unfortunately have many injuries the last couple of games. That's game better for Demidov 11 because now he play on the first line. They're missing Kuznetsov, Krzyzczuk. They're missing Plenikov. I missed maybe another one, but that's the top 3 players playing usually on the top 6. So good to see that. Rottenberg fit. I was really hard on Rottenberg. I wrote in the school about this on my X accounts for the fact like is getting confidence about Rottenberg to Demidov. Demidov can play 16, 17, 18 minutes. Since the beginning of the last couple of games with the team SKA. And we'll see what it's going to look like tonight. So tomorrow, 11:30 a.m., you have a chance to watch this game live. You can go on hockey.tv. You can watch any game in hockey. That's where I got Kapanen and all the players for the Montreal Canadiens prospect. So that's happening about this. Anything you want to add, Mr. Nartap, what are you looking for the week? And everybody, don't forget, please, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. That will be the end of the show, of course, on that one. So what it will be, Mr. Nartap, you're looking for the Montreal Canadiens this week?
Well, I think in this, I would have said before the Anaheim game that they needed to get minimum 4 points in order to, continue with their progress the way it should be. These are teams that they can beat and realistically get those points. Now, they got off to a bad start by losing to Anaheim, but I still think that 4 points is within range.
Great point. I don't know. By the way, Devin, do you know if the team Atlantic win right now? All the team have one win. What's the tiebreaker? Is it a goal differential goal?
I haven't been able to
think
pay
it is.
attention enough to it. I don't know how it works. I don't know.
They flip the
I know
coin
that-
and they flip the coin.
No,
then
no.
I
It
know
might
that
go
the
to
North
head-to-head.
the North is 2-0 now, aren't they?
Yeah, North America have
I'll
right
pay
now.
more attention to it after the show.
North America are +1. The Central Division is +1. That's complicate everything. And the Pacific right now is +1 Pacific. Atlantic is -3. Central is +1. And the North Division is +1. But the North Division beat Central. So if the Atlantic were not winning by 1 goal, they have to score 4 goals to beat the Pacific. And if that's happening, now it's going to be to win between Atlantic. So it looked like a possible North play against the Pacific at the end.
And Jacob Fowler just allowed another goal, 6-2 for BC over Northeastern.
Here we go. That's concluded on that one with there. For that, and after you, I'm sorry that I forgot everything when we talk about everything else. So, what are you looking for the Montreal Canadiens?
I said that
Intertop already went.
I
Yeah.
expect them to get the 4 points
I
in
have to be
the LA
careful in
game.
after to ask again because maybe you forget right away after that.
Yeah, I'm not that old yet.
What I look for the Canadians is just that they continue to be a competitive team that puts a good performance on the ice, and that they live up to their winning habits. That I don't expect them to win every game. I just expect them to put up a fight, and I think they'll be able to do that. I think again, I look forward to Heineman coming back. I think that'll make a difference. But yeah, I look for them to put up a fight. They put up a fight every night. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I agree with you about that. If in the game, they play 60 minutes. I think will be the best thing to describe that. They play 60 minutes and compete like they did earlier, and we'll see what happen. But I think it will be for the fans and for the management and for the team to snap that straight game. I think tomorrow that'll be very important for the Montreal Canadiens. But we'll see what happening about that. We want to thank everybody, the co-hosts of the show tonight, and Artap and Devin with us tonight. We want to thank Moderator Luciano. He loved the Ottawa Senator in our top. And then also we want to thank for run with Kings on the night. Just question, Devin, do you play with your screen up and down with the A cam? Do you zoom in, zoom out?
Like? No, I lean forward and I lean backwards.
Okay. Okay. I thought it was like because you have a function, you can do that, but I think I'm the only one can do that. So I was just curious about that. If you have, I don't know if you do it. You have a cam.
There's a reason.
Devin, you have a cam, a cam beta 4.4. Maybe you can look about that. Very interesting. They put this about that. So we want to thank everybody in the chat, guys. Great comments of all the people in the chat. Thanks to be a part of the show. We don't know we are back, but we're back for the Montreal for the notebook, guys. With Marco, we have to wait. We wait for the special guest. It's not confirmed yet, but we'll be back on Thursday or Friday for the notebook at some point. And then, of course, we'll be back for the bowl game Montreal play tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. tomorrow night. Again, as soon as the Sharks go. Both games are at 10:30. After that, will be the Kings. Listen out, tap. Until the next time, the reason that you are every single night you pop up here in the chat.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Of course, Devin delivery a lot of contents. I will ask everybody to follow Devin on what?
Recliner Sports 4 on YouTube. Habs After Dark. Come check us out at every Canadiens game.
Every game, Devin. If you don't lose his voice, will be there after the Montreal Canadiens. Right?
Yes, if I don't lose my voice, one-time deal.
That's okay, no problem. It's happened only one time anyway, but it's harder. Devin won the team losing like they did the last couple of games, honestly. I run the show, so I know exactly what you're feeling about that. But we'll see how the Montreal can bounce back. After 5 minutes, they won 1 at Classic 12. So expect North America with Owen Beck be in the final again the Pacific against Askarov. Askarov did a great show in the American Hockey League All-Star game the last 2 days. About that, I know we lost the time by the music, but it's not a big deal. So I wish both of you guys an amazing, great night. But be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what, Devin?
2025.
You did it again. Have an amazing, great night, Mr. Nartap and Devin. We'll be back next week, Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. because the game is at 1 o'clock. So we have a couple of hours after that. So Sunday night, if you are available, just confirm with me. I can't wait to see all of you. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Here we go. That's conclude another Habs Nation weekly report for everyone. Thanks to be all of you to be with us tonight. Don't forget to leave the chat with a click on the likes. And I can wait to see you tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. for the game between the San Jose Sharks and the Montreal Canadiens. I like what we do at the end of the show. You know, we have only greatness, but I ask you to be a light for the only week. Be a light what it would be is to make it fun or serve someone or help someone during the week. You have you have everything inside of you, not only to have greatness, to be a light for anybody else. Until then, my friend, the Hockey Nation, I show the Habs Nation want to tell you one more thing. We love you, friends. Have a great night, everybody. I will see you tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. for another game on the Montreal Canadiens versus the San Jose Sharks. Until then, one more time, here we go. Booyah, everybody. Good night, everyone.